Good evening, everybody. Hope you can all hear me. Can't see my face. I don't know why my face is not coming up, but it's okay.
I can see you.
Okay. Thank you for coming to the menopause and making the most of your mature years part 2. Part 1 was very successful. People watched it on YouTube. Loads of people came to the meeting and they found it really, really helpful. And it was always my intention to have a part 2. Just maybe more to talk about the emotional and physical side in terms of keeping fit, about being in the menopause. I am a woman in the menopause. I've got my fan, look. I got it in Tiger. Because I'm really just suffering from sweat, but I've upped the ante in terms of keeping fit. I've started walking because I want to lose weight. As we know that the menopause is a physical and emotional life transition that all women have to go through. It will vary on what kind of symptoms a woman experiences, but we all go through what's called the menopause, and it comes with its various issues. Some of them negative, like I experience a lot of sweating. There's other people who experience other ailments. But on the other hand, I think, well, I'm saying that I'm enjoying this mature phase of my life, because sometimes you think that, oh, as you get older, the opportunities dry up, and they dry up for everything, you know, career, romance, whatever. But spirituality, you know, your role in work in the church or whatever, voluntary groups. But I'm just talking for myself and maybe for other people. You might be getting older, but new opportunities open up. And I'm finding that I'm feeling more sure of myself. I'm excited about life. I wouldn't go back to being younger. I'd only go back to being younger if I could take what I know now back to me to be 20 and 25. You know how it goes. I'm hoping that everybody on this meeting, that they'll hear nuggets and information that will help them deal with some of the physical aspects of the menopause, but also encourage you to embrace life and all that it offers. Because, you know, we are still alive, we are still breathing. God took us through, if we're still here, God took us through COVID. So, you know, let's just be grateful for life. Let's embrace it. Let's embrace our maturity, because we have so much to offer. So I've got 4 great speakers who will be sharing tonight. And I'm really grateful for the very first speaker who has agreed to join us maybe just about 3 days ago. Her name is Dr. Tonye Wikoma. She's a consultant in community gynecology and a British menopause specialist. She is passionate about reducing inequalities in women's health, particularly menopause care. She is the menopause guardian at the Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Health and an honorary clinical tutor at the Hull York Medical School. Tonye believes every woman is entitled to and deserves high quality personalized care, which she aims to deliver. She's also a member of Black Women in Menopause, a group that is dedicated to teach women about all aspects about being perimenopausal and menopausal. I know that we're online, but let's all give a round of applause to Tonye, who's taken time out from a holiday to speak to us tonight. Over to you, Tonye.
Thank you very much, Marcia. And thank you very much, ladies, for giving up your time. I was just listening to the conversations and nodding my head and saying, yep, that's what I hear every day, really, about what women go through. So what Marcia had said was, could I talk about what the menopause is and what could be done to alleviate it? I've got 20 minutes and then time for questions at the end. I'm very happy for people to put questions in the chat, interrupt, or just generally make comments if they wish to. Very, very quickly, as doctors or nurses, the menopause is a finite time. So the menopause is that last menstrual period, and you can only make a diagnosis of the menopause 12 months after a woman hasn't had periods. So of course, women then get confused as to what are we talking about? Because there is this term now called perimenopause that a lot of people are talking about. And it usually begins to happen after the age of 40. It happens because a woman's hormones are becoming much more chaotic. That happens because every woman and girl is born with a finite number of eggs in her ovaries. These are released regularly every month. By the time she gets to her 40s, the ovaries become what we call resistant. They become a bit more resistant to releasing the eggs. So the brain that sends messages to the ovaries begins to work harder to get the ovaries to release an egg. As the ovaries release an egg, they release all the hormones that our bodies use, the estrogen hormone, the progesterone hormone, and testosterone. And those are the hormones that when they go out of whack, those are the hormones that cause us to start to have symptoms. So by the time a woman gets into the perimenopause, just about, soon after 40, mid-40s, she begins to experience symptoms because her hormones are beginning to get a little bit more chaotic. The thing about it is that women don't often know when it's beginning to happen because these symptoms can be extremely vague. It's not necessarily the hot flushing and the sweating, which is the most common symptom reported of the menopause. It's things like joint pain. It's things like palpitations, your heart's beating really fast, increased anxiety. It's things like headaches, muscle and joint pains. There's even symptoms like that people experience of a feeling of itching all over their body. Things like hair loss, all these really, weird and wonderful symptoms, which people don't attribute to the perimenopause and the menopause. And we start trying to tackle it in different ways. So of course, absolutely, natural remedies, herbal remedies. I'm sure everyone here has a little tray somewhere in their kitchen or in their bedroom with all sorts of vitamins and supplements, which they take. But all these symptoms could be as a result of hormones changing as women go into the perimenopause and the menopause. The average age of the menopause is around the age of 51 in the UK. It's about the age of 51. There is studies to say in Black women in the US that it's slightly earlier, so about the age of 48. Now, if a woman starts having symptoms over the age of 45, that's considered entirely normal. So menopause could happen 51, it could happen at the age of 45, it could happen at the age of 55. If a woman goes through the menopause before the age of 40, that's what we call premature ovarian insufficiency. And that's really important because we strongly recommend that she should have those hormones replaced. Those hormones are important to protect her heart and her bones. So there's three things I've mentioned, 3 age ranges. Under the age of 40, she goes through the menopause, early menopause, premature ovarian insufficiency. She needs some sort of hormone replacement. 45 and above, that's completely normal, probably the perimenopause, because she might still be having periods at that time. The other thing that changes as women get into the perimenopause is their periods. Sometimes the cycles become shorter, sometimes they start to get longer so that the periods are less frequent. And this begins to, that happens gradually until they stop completely. But like I said, you can't say a woman has gone into the menopause unless she has had 12 months with no bleeding at all. And then very importantly, if a woman has had no bleeding for 12 months, if she bleeds after that, that is what we call postmenopausal bleeding. And it's important that you see somebody about that because that can be a sign of something more sinister. So those are sort of the important landmarks to do with the perimenopause, early menopause, and postmenopause. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. I always describe menopause as a biopsychosocial phenomenon. It depends on your culture as to what symptoms you experience. and what symptoms you report. It depends on your biology, and it depends on your psychology as well. I always say to women, there is evidence, again, to show that women, if they are better prepared, they will have a better experience of the menopause. But not just that, faith, having a positive mindset, all that will impact on the symptoms of the menopause. The main symptoms of the menopause, as we've sort of mentioned or alluded to, 75% of women will have all these, depends on which document you look at. There can be up to 70 different types of symptoms of the menopause. But majority of women who complain about symptoms will get flushing and sweating. So 75% of women will mention that they've had symptoms as they've gone through the perimenopause and the menopause. 25% of them will have severe symptoms, symptoms that incapacitate them, symptoms that prevent them from carrying out their daily duties. We've mentioned some of them already: the flushing and sweating, the hot, and flushing and sweating. It doesn't necessarily have to be a hot flush. It can be a cold flush as well. It's just temperature derangement due to hormone imbalance in the body. And then you get the psychological symptoms, which I find that women are more concerned about, because they get all these symptoms, they begin to lose confidence. They begin to think, oh, they can't cope anymore. They used to multitask before. These are women in the prime of their lives, and they are going into businesses, looking after a home, organizing things in church, and they just can't seem to cope with everything anymore. They're more likely to cry. This is the crying at an advert on the TV, the irritability, the anger, the, going upstairs syndrome. You go upstairs to get something and forget what you went upstairs for. You open the fridge to take something out and you can't remember exactly what it was. This is the time when women start keeping lists. They start writing down every single thing, because if you tell me, I'm likely to forget before we finish the conversation. So, I'll just put it down on a list. But these things can sometimes, we sometimes laugh at them, and people in the community sometimes laugh and say, oh yeah, she's just menopausal. These things can be very, very serious. They can affect people's confidence. They can make people, they get scared about going out, going to occasions. There's, you see people walking around with towels because they're sweating so profusely. It makes them feel, changes the way they smell. It makes them feel embarrassed. They don't know what to say. There's menopause dyslexia. People can't find the words that they want to use, because, and this is all part of the whole menopause landscape. So of course, it's not all bad. The thing that I want to mention that women don't talk about is sexuality as well. Women, they go off sex. It's not just that they don't feel like having sex any longer. There's vaginal dryness. So things like flushing and sweating, it might on average last for about 8 years. Some people have it for life. Some people have minimal symptoms, as we've mentioned. But things like vaginal dryness, that can also, the bladder, they start going to the loo more frequently. They start getting more frequent urine infections. That gradually gets worse if it's not treated. And that is such a shame, because the treatment is so simple. It's so simple. Even if a woman didn't want to use hormones, things for treating the vaginal dry, because if the vagina is dry, you're never going to want to have sex. That's a given, because it's just going to be awful and it's going to be painful. And then you're trying to explain it to this nice gentleman who you've been married to for a while, and they're not getting it. They don't understand what's going on. So there's that as well, which they don't talk about. That bit of the menopause is called the genitourinary syndrome of the menopause. So the vaginal dryness, the vaginal infections, the frequency that women go to pass urine, the frequent recurrent urinary tract infections. That's, again, another side of the menopause. And then the sort of other weird and wonderful symptoms, the joint pain, the generalized itching all over their bodies, muscle aches, being tired all the time, not having, their mojo, not being able to do the things or having the interest in the things that they used to in the past. So all these things, and there's many more that people have reported, and things like tinnitus, so ringing in the ears, could be a symptom of the menopause. There's several things that people mention as symptoms of the menopause. They don't all happen to the same degree or the same severity. Everyone, like I've said, is completely different, and everyone's attitude to the menopause is different as well. It's really important, like what you ladies are doing now, getting yourselves educated and raising the awareness about what menopause symptoms are or what they could be. My mother also said, oh my goodness, I sailed through the menopause. But I remember her changing her diet and changing from tea. She used to have afternoon tea every afternoon because she got palpitations, but she didn't think it was a symptom of the menopause at that time. So she, of course, tried lifestyle changes to see if that would help. And then she went on other medication as well. So those are just some symptoms of the menopause that could happen. People ask about things like weight gain. Now, the menopause itself doesn't, people age, as they age, men and women, sometimes they put on weight. Diet and exercise is hugely important. What the menopause does is that when you do gain weight, you gain it around the middle. So the Michelin Man type of appearance. It's no longer, it's very annoying because it's very tricky to take off as well. So there's and I'm sure there's some symptoms here that, I've not mentioned that will affect somebody in this room today. What can you do? What can you do about these symptoms that can be very vague? You're not quite sure. Is this a symptom of the menopause? Because not everything is a symptom of the menopause. So the caveat is, if you're worried, please go to see a doctor. And of course, people say, oh, I've been to see a doctor several times, and they've said, just get on with it, just grin and bear it. Nothing happened. If you are worried and you think, what's going on, please go and see somebody. You do not need a blood test to diagnose the menopause. Just to make that clear, the blood test doesn't tell you anything. If you're still menstruating, if you're still having periods, and they take a blood test, it will come back as normal. The blood test that we use to diagnose menopause is a blood test called follicle stimulating hormone. And you need to have that done on 2 occasions, at least 6 weeks apart, to make a diagnosis. The only time that we do these blood tests is if a woman is using contraception, for example, certain contraception. She wants to know if to stop it, is she menopausal? Certain contraception stop women having periods. So a hormone coil, the progestogen only pill, then you could do a blood test to check. Or if she's gone through a menopause early, if she has had that premature ovarian insufficiency, you want to make a diagnosis because there's other tests that need to be done. You could do blood tests at that time. But if you're 45, 46, there's no need to go to the doctor to say, look, can you do me a blood test to check if I'm menopausal? It doesn't tell you anything. It will come back normal. And if the doctor's not clued on, they will tell you it's all normal. Thank you very much. Bye. And you're still, you're back to square one because the problem you went with hasn't been sorted. So that's blood tests. They're useful, but usually not needed all the time. What can be done about the menopause? Again, everyone's different. Just listening to snippets of the conversation this evening, 5 minutes, everybody was reporting different things. Some people had their fans, some people, had the brain fog. And it's those things that, people aren't sure, is this menopause? Is it not? What could be done? Does it overlap with it? It overlaps with other conditions, the COVID, the thyroid problems, being anemic. They all sort of present with similar symptoms, and it's kind of difficult to tell what exactly might be going on. But what can you do? If a woman is typically menopausal, she's over the age of 45, she's experiencing some of these symptoms, that we've talked about, and it's impacting on her life. What can she do? The first thing that we always say is lifestyle. Lifestyle is hugely important. The diet and exercise, cutting down on the carbs, losing weight if you do need to lose weight is very, very important, because it will actually help with the symptoms you're experiencing. But not just that. I see this time as a time to start paying into your health bank. We're all living longer. And if you're not healthy as you go into the menopause, you've got 30 years, 40 years left with creaky joints and feeling old. So it's really important to start to, if you haven't already, start to try to get as healthy as you can. So lose weight. If you smoke, stop smoking or cut down. Alcohol is a big culprit. Cut down on the alcohol. Carbs, all that yam and rice and all those things, they're lovely to eat, but if possible, sort of reduce the amount. We all know what to do, everything in moderation. Lifestyle is very, very important. We often, as women, we want a quick fix. So you want, doctor, what's wrong with me? Can I have a tablet? But it's everything together. I always say to women, it's more of a holistic picture. It's not just about giving medication. Then the other things that could be done is obviously hormone replacement, hormone tablets or patches or gels, hormone replacement in whatever form. And this is where clinicians like me come in, because what we do is we take a really good medical history to be able to tell what would suit you, what is appropriate for you, what is safe for you, and what's effective for you. So the juggling of the dose of the hormone replacement, the right hormone replacement. Hormone replacement has very, very bad press, and it's had it for years based on old research that was released in the early 2000s. Now, since then, things have moved on. There's lots more evidence now to say whether it's safe and to say how safe it is and how to use it. So it is something, if a woman is struggling, if she's really, really struggling, something that I urge people to consider. Don't rule it out completely. I think there's not just I call it HRT reluctance. It's not just hesitancy or reluctance. There's almost an HRT aversion in our communities. So I think it's just something to be open-minded about and to think about and talk to somebody who is knowledgeable about it. There are other options. There's non-hormone treatments that people can have if they're suffering with symptoms. It depends on the symptom, because HRT is the most effective treatment that we have that will most of the time treat a lot of the symptoms of the menopause together. But if some women can't have HRT or don't want HRT, which is completely fine, and there's alternatives to that. Now, some of these alternatives don't treat everything. So, for example, we do use antidepressants to treat menopause symptoms. So one of the things that people accuse doctors about is that they go to the doctor and the doctor says they're depressed and they give them antidepressants. But antidepressants can also be used to treat menopause symptoms. It can help with hot flushing and sweating, and it can also obviously help with mood. Not necessarily that the woman is depressed. And then there's other different non-hormone medication that women could try. Herbal remedies have been shown in some limited studies to be effective for treating menopause symptoms. It's important you get it from somewhere if you're going to go down that route. First of all, it's important to know if it's something you can take, because I see many women who've had possibly breast cancer. They don't want HRT, but they want something herbal. So again, you've got to be careful because it might work in the same way as HRT. It's important that it's quality regulated as well. The thing with herbal remedies and why we can't recommend it is because it depends on which shop you go into as to what the strengths are. But there is evidence for complementary medicine for treating menopausal symptoms. So, various things, black cohosh, red clover, the other different supplements that, may help with menopause symptoms. CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, there's evidence that does help as well. It basically helps you to just take that step back, just relax, and just sort of able to reframe things and put things into perspective. Because one of the things that we often do in the menopause, or menopausal women often do, is everything becomes a catastrophe. So sometimes CBT can help with just taking that step back and just reframing things and just calming down a little bit. Helps you cope with the flushing and sweating, and the anxiety that can accompany the menopause. So Marcia was saying something. It's not all doom and gloom. It's really not all doom and gloom. Sometimes women say they no longer have a filter, and I think sometimes that's deserved. We've all been very, very hardworking, looking after family, everybody, doing everything for everybody. It is time that people began to see the value in you and see how important you are to communities. So sometimes it is good to be able to tell it as it is. Obviously, there's there is a limit. We don't want people's households breaking up, but yeah, sometimes it can be a freeing experience to get older and to go into the menopause.
Hi, Tonye. Is it okay if I open up for questions?
Absolutely.
Right, Leonie, you've got a question, and then I'm going to go to Doreen McCullough. Yeah, Professor Doreen McCullough. So Leonie, do you want to pose your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Tonye, I've got a strong family history of breast cancer, having had two sisters and two first cousins who had breast cancer. I would say that I suffer 80 to 90% of the symptoms that I've seen listed for menopause, and I've been trying to cope naturally with it. But it's at a stage now where it's wild and out of control and taking over my life. I need to know where to start to get the right help and to get the right information to ensure that anything that I do is safe for me.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start.
Yes, and of course, it can be tricky and it can be difficult if there is a high risk, which it sounds like based on that history of breast cancer, because the sort of thinking is that you can't have HRT, yeah, if there is a family history, but it all depends. I always say it all depends, because what you would need to do, Leonie, is to have a conversation with someone like myself. We take a proper history. How old were these people when they developed the breast cancer? Has there been any genetic testing? What symptoms are bothering you the most? Which ones can you manage with, but which ones do you think, okay, I need to do something about? And then we can weigh up the pros and cons of the different options for management of symptoms. But because you're the expert on your body, you're the one who is suffering the symptoms, and any clinician or doctor will need to work with you to say, where do you go next? What should you do to make the most of this time? Because not often, sometimes women who do have this strong history, just because quality of life is so poor, they may decide to try a little bit of hormones. But this is all done in liaison with, the genetics clinic, oncology clinic, breast surgery clinic. So it's a more in-depth discussion, Leonie.
Who do I call first?
It depends on where you are. In the UK, I would say go to your GP and have that chat with them and say, could you be referred to a menopause specialist to have a conversation, what you should do.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Leonie. Thanks for that question. Professor Doreen McCullough, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes. Can you hear me? I'm trying to.
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's see. This will allow me. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tonye. That was a very good presentation. I recognize some of the things you said, mainly the joint pains and the feelings, you know, mood swings and all of that. I recognize that. I'm pre-menopausal, by the way, and I keep thinking I've arrived to the menopausal state, and then a period comes when I think, you know, within that period. So I'm still pre-menopausal. But my question is this: not being married, I've been divorced for a long time, and therefore not sexually active. But then, if you found someone and you decided to get married, you talked about the vaginal dryness. Would you then have to go to a doctor to have you checked to be sure that, you know, you're not going to have any problems?
So not necessarily is the answer, because some women can tell if the vagina is dry even without sexual intercourse, if you know what I mean. And apart from the treatments that we use for vaginal dryness, like estrogen, vaginal estrogen, there is other things out there that you can buy over the counter. So there's vaginal moisturizers. There's you know, lubricants that people can use with intercourse. So it's more those symptoms that you've described sound, you know, typically like perimenopause symptoms, and there can be treatment for that. So people can go on to hormone replacement if that's what they want, even when they're perimenopausal. But certainly you don't necessarily, I suppose, your question was, do you need to have a checkup? I think it's always good for people to get a checkup generally, if they haven't had one for a long time, but not particularly if that's what you want a checkup for. But of course, if you did want to talk to somebody, I always say, if something's bothering you, please go and talk to someone. And if you don't get the right answer the first time, go and talk to someone else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, that's great.
Got a question in the chat. Got two questions in the chat, actually. And first one is, if you've not had a period for over 18 months and are still sexually active, can you still get pregnant?
It depends. The guidance is, if you're under 50, that you should use contraception for two more years. And if you're over 50, then you should use contraception for a year. And that's because, yeah, the ovaries can sometimes wake up, even if you haven't had a period for a long time. So yeah, it depends.
Okay.
It's unlikely, but it depends.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you two more questions because we're running out of time. What natural methods are there out there to deal with some of the menopause symptoms?
There's, you know, if you go into the shops now, there's a whole variety of different things that are available. Like I mentioned, we don't have the evidence that we have with hormone replacement. But even things like, the first thing is to just make sure your lifestyle, your diet and exercise is good. Then there's other things like red clover, black cohosh. Those are some of the things that you can pick off the shelf. And there's loads of other, which, you know, it would take too long to mention all of them. Ashwagandha gives you energy. You know, vitamin D is really important. So there's loads of things.
Okay, and this is the last question I'm going to read from the chat and go to the next speaker. It's, if you have clinical menopause due to breast cancer, what are your thoughts on taking HRT if your cancer was estrogen positive? Black cohosh and red clover is not permitted.
So if your cancer is estrogen positive, and you take HRT, with that, anyhow, you're at higher risk of having another cancer or a recurrence of that same cancer. HRT does carry a small increased risk of breast cancer. And it's those kinds of discussions that we have to have with women, because you know, definitely they would be at higher risk than the general population. And is there alternatives to what symptom they're presenting with that we can treat with instead?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tonye. Thank you for that great presentation, and thank you for your open and honest answers to the questions. Let's all give Dr. Tonye a round of applause, an online applause.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really grateful that you could come on. And I'm sure that she'll be open via the organisation that she's a part of, which is Black Women in Menopause, to come and speak at any event that you might be hosting to talk about this issue. Thank you again, Dr. Tonye. One of the things that Dr. Tonye said was the importance of keeping fit. So the next person that I'm going to have on speaking to you is a lady called Bathsheba Smith. She's full of energy. Even when she talks, you can feel the energy. She is a qualified fitness instructor, and she has been working in the world of fitness for over 30 years, working with people of all ages, sexes, and abilities. This includes working in gyms, health centers, and even homes for senior citizens. Her passion is to promote the health and fitness of women throughout their life and older years. And she's just going to share some insights about things that you can do to keep fit. Bathsheba, over to you. Can you put your sound on? Can't hear ya.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you so much for inviting me on this platform. It's really important to have a platform like this for this time of our lives. And thank you. And thank you for the previous speaker. And as you mentioned, exercise, you know, it is so important. Being a fitness instructor and a personal trainer for over 30 years, I'm going to share this with you because I think it's really important. I thought that my profession and career would have me sailing through the menopause. How wrong was I? I was so wrong, because when that hit me, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. So basically, I was 48 when I had my last period, and I'm now 55. And I've still got my flannel, and I still have my fan. So I'm still going through all the hot flushes, and they come randomly, and I'm always prepared with these two tools, basically. And like I said, I thought I would sell for it. I thought, you know, I'm fit, you know what I mean? It's going to be a walk through the park. And when the menopause hit me, I thought to myself, whoa, I was not expecting this. I was not prepared for it. And, you know, obviously having a period at 48, that did come as a shock because that was pretty early. I didn't expect, you know, to go into menopause that early because I was not married. I didn't have children. So I went through all of those emotions. Like, okay, this is it now, because if I don't have no period, no picnic. But, you know, I pressed through and I got on with it because you just have to. And, you know, I worked out and taught classes 3 to 4, sometimes 5 times a week. And, you know, I've done marathons and 10Ks and, you know, various fitness competitions, you know, right throughout my life. And so getting hot and sweaty and being fit was like the order of the day. But when I realized I was getting hot and sweaty on top of, you know, exercise fitness, it was like I was just a dripping mess, basically. And I could tell the difference between obviously the exercise, because I know my body, the exercise, fitness, hot sweat, and the menopause sweat. And sometimes it would be one or the other or the two combined. So, you know, sweat was definitely like my, my middle name, Sweaty Betty. So I thought, okay, how are we going to deal with this? I did my research and I looked at, you know, things that I could eat and minimize. And, you know, in fact, it wasn't the food first. It was literally, I need to live, and I'm not living. I'm miserable. I'm waking up 3 to 4 times a night. I'm sweating profusely. I mean, at one stage, I used to actually lay a towel, you know, a hand-sized towel on top of my pillow, so it would just saturate the sweat. And I'd wake up miserable because I'd been, you know, sleep deprived and moody. And I just thought, okay, let's try some of this sage that I used to hear people talk about. Sage, try some sage. I went to Holland and Barrett. I got as much as I could get my hands on and ordered stuff online. None of it worked. None of it worked for me. And that's one thing you've got to remember. Everybody's experience and journey in the menopause is different. Some things work for others and other things don't work for others. I didn't have the patience to, you know, go through months of, you know, sage and the black go hash and the Menopause. You know, I tried them all at different periods, but I just felt none of this is really working. So then I had to look at my diet, and I introduced a lot of green vegetables, green leafy vegetables, especially kale and broccoli and, you know, cabbage and stuff like that, which I highly recommend people try. If you like that type of food and it's in your diet already, then, you know, you're in a good place. And that because the green vegetables contain vitamin D, and they're really good for minimizing the symptoms. Always one thing to remember as well, you know, when it comes to food, nothing eradicates those symptoms, but they help minimize the symptoms. And I could say that out of experience, they really do help minimize, you know, the symptoms of hot flushes. Because if you're going to have, you know, sugary, sweet, you know, meaty meat in your diet, and as stuff that's not healthy, it really does trigger hot flushes, like alcohol, fizzy drinks, you know, there are triggers for hot flushes, coffee and stuff like that. So it is in your best interest, if you're going through all of those flush symptoms and the brain fog and the mood swings, your food and diet is going to be should be a priority, because it will minimize that, and you'll feel a lot better for it. Because I remember my stomach, I mean, remember, I'm a fitness instructor, and in my perimenopause, my stomach looked like I was pregnant, and it literally started from underneath my breast, and it was protruding, and I'm like, my goodness, this thing is really, you know, causing damage in my body. And, you know, all of that, you know, was all down to me going through the change. And so with that, I just continued, pushed through, did extra exercise, and you know, minimize my carbohydrates, which are very important, because refined carbohydrates has a lot of calories, and stuff like bread, French bread and the normal white bread, it's all got raisin agents. So those raisin agents are raising your stomach and giving you a lot of bloatedness. So if you could switch and over to brown bread, you know, bread that's flat, i.e. pita bread and the wraps that's got no raisin agents, it's going to be a lot better for you, and it will stop a lot of weight gain. Yeah. So I'm just going to read out some of the vegetables that I would recommend you include in your diet if it's not in your diet at this time. And if you want to make notes, make notes. If not, Marcia is recording, so she can have it sent over to you. So the dark leafy vegetables, number one, broccoli. Broccoli, kale, cabbage, spinach, and any dark leafy vegetables that you like pok choy. You know, they're very, very good if you can include those in your diet. And whole grain fruits and vegetables, as many fruits and vegetables as you can, you know, eat, because you know the kind of guidelines are the 5 a day, but I would strongly recommend citrus fruits. Citrus fruits do minimize hot flushes, and in particular, I do have a lot of not a lot, but I regularly have pink grapefruit. Pink grapefruit is very good, and this time of year it's quite sweet, so it's nice, it's refreshing, and it does help with the hot flushes. Whole grains, oatmeal, brown bread, like I said, flat bread rather than the raisin agents, avocados, and dark fruits, dark berry fruits. So you've got your blackberries, beetroot. I mean, if you don't like these fruits and vegetables, you're not someone that actually takes these fruit and vegetables into your diet. Remember, you can always blend them into a smoothie. So you can have a vegetable, a fruit, or a couple of fruits, and just blend it and drink it. You're still getting all of the nutrients into your body. So you don't have to eat them whole, you can drink them. And that's always really handy if you're always on the go like me. So these vegetables are rich in vitamin D, as the doctors did mention earlier. Vitamin D is really good for our bone health. And when you're post-menopause, you know, the risk of osteoporosis is higher. So to get vitamin D in is very important. Vitamin D rich foods in your diet is a must. So extra supplements, I would advise to support the bone health, and also oily fish. So we've done our fruit and vegetables, oily fish. So oily fish are fishes such as salmon, smoked or whole. You've got mackerel, tuna, sardines, herrings, pilchards, and I've also mentioned yam. Now, I don't eat yam, and I know that there's a lot of people who do eat yam. Now, yam is very rich in estrogen, and that's the hormone that we are depleted of when we're in our menopause. And yeah, if you can get some yam in your diet, that would help with the symptoms. Very good. And the other foods I'd say are eggs, which is also rich in vitamin D and omega, and mushrooms, liver. If you drink milk, soya milk is very good also, and soya-based foods, very good for symptoms and injecting some of that estrogen that we don't have or we're lacking. Nuts. Now, almond nuts are very good. Walnuts, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds. If you eat this type of food already, and that's a good thing, you'll probably notice that you don't have as many symptoms of the menopause. If you don't, I would suggest you include as much of it as you can. Right, so now we're going to go on to foods to avoid. Now here I am, look, see I'm shining? That's a hot flush there. There we go. Here's my fan, get that out. Right, so foods to avoid when you're going through the menopause is number one, spicy foods. If you can minimize the seasoning on your foods and try not to eat as much meat. Meat is, it can trigger a lot of hot flashes. I noticed when I was eating meat, if I have a meat diet compared to a fish diet, my flushes are, you know, variable. They're very variable. So processed foods you should really try and avoid. And processed foods like chocolate, sugary foods, ice cream, biscuits, cakes, bacon, burgers, pizzas, all the junk food, all those comfort foods, try and minimize them. I'm not going to say, because it's not going to be realistic if I say don't eat them, but try and minimize them and know the triggers. Know that they are triggers to have, you know, hot flushes, brain fog, you know, weight gain. As we know, they're high in calories and they don't have much nutritional values. So try and avoid all those processed foods. And I can't stress the importance of hydration. Now, water can't, you know, our bodies are made up of 70% of water. So we need to be drinking quite a lot of water anyway. So if you're having hot flushes on a regular basis, then you really need to up your water. Now, I drink quite a lot of water, but I also sweat a lot. So it goes in, it comes out. It goes in, it comes out. I'd say have water, a bottle of water, like a 2-liter bottle or a bottle of this size with you all the time. If you can put it in your handbag, have it in the car, just have water, you know, at hand's reach, you know, wherever, every day. At nighttime, have water at the bed of at the side of your bed, because if you're getting up and having symptoms, you need to replace the water that you're losing. And if you can chill your water, it's better for you because it's going to keep you cooler. You know, always have water chilled, or even have ice in the freezer. That's really important because you can dehydrate very, very, very fast. I remember when I was having really bad menopause symptoms and I was in Guyana, and it was so hot there anyway, and it was just continuously pouring off of me. I just couldn't get, you know, myself hydrated quick enough because it was like the heat and the flushes, you know, completely dehydrating me. So 1 to 2 liters per day, if you can, is advisable to just keep yourself very hydrated. Because I remember when I used to have the hot flushes and used to start from the bottom of my feet and coming all the way up. And I read somewhere when I was researching that if you hold your breath and basically just breathe, it kind of like stops the flush. It stops the you know, your body heating up like a boiling kettle. And I tried it a couple of times and it actually did work. So there's lots of remedies out there that you can actually tap into and find it will work for you. And I'd say to anybody who's going through, you know, those type of side effects, you know, research and, you know, try it as much as you can because it's your journey. And, you know, sometimes you really feel you're on your own in the menopause, but you're not. You know, people go through things, but it's your journey and it's your, you know, it's your suffering, so to speak. So you have to do what's right for you. Yeah, and also it's advisable to use cotton sheets. I'd say if you could put cotton sheets onto your bed, that's going to keep you a lot cooler. Because I found at nighttime, I mean, some people have flushes at nighttime and some people don't. And some people don't have them in the day, but they just get a bit hot at night. So having cotton sheets is going to keep you a lot cooler than polystyrene, the polyester, silk, satin, you know, material. So use cotton sheets at night and keep the room ventilated. Help keep you nice and cool. So yes, that's my diet advice and recommendations to you. Now we're going to move on to some exercise, which is my forte. Right, so exercise during menopause. If you exercise before, you probably think, oh, you know, I'm so tired, because that's one of the side effects that really kind of like takes its toll on you. Feeling tired, feeling lethargic, got no energy, and you think, oh my God, exercise on top of the way I feel. You know, I've had a night of, you know, waking up, I'm sleep deprived, and now I've got to exercise. What I'd say to that is, you know what, try and push through it. Try and push through it, because you feel so much better to get up, go out and walk. You know, everyone can walk by God's grace. You know, we go for a walk, you can go walk by yourself or walk with a friend, but that is going to be the easiest form of exercise that's going to, you know, really give you the benefits of feeling good when you get back. You're going to feel good mentally, spiritually, and physically. Get out there and walk. If you don't want to walk, you remember cardio exercise is going to help a lot. So if you want to walk, you can run. If you've got the energy to run, walk. If you want to mix it up, run, walk. You can use a bike if you have one. Go for a nice bike ride. You can swim if you've got accessible to a pool. If you've got a gym membership and it has a pool, I'd advise swimming. It's going to lift your mood and release those endorphins, because, you know, we know that the mood is also very affected by going through the menopause. So when you come back from a good workout, you're going to feel 100% a lot better. So try and push through that tiredness and, you know, can't be bothered, and because I'm telling you, it does work. It does work. And, you know, obviously putting on that weight, makes you feel miserable to look at yourself and you've gained all this weight. So the exercise is going to counteract that. So there's other exercises that you can do, is body weight training. Now, basically, body weight training is just using your own body weight. Now, you can use your own body weight to do push-ups on the floor, against the wall, or on a piece of furniture. And if you also have stairs in your home, you can use the stairs for some cardio, going up and down. You can use your garden if you've got steps in your garden, up and down, forward and back. You can do stomach exercises. You know, none of this costs. You know, there's no expense in these type of exercises and where you're doing them, which is in your comfort of your own home. Laying down, doing some stomach crunches, some abdominal exercises. There's a list of exercises that you can access online. Some of you might have a Fitbit, or you can invest in a Fitbit and do your steps, which is like 10,000, however it may be. And that's also, that's a really good motivator of exercise. You can invest in weights. You can buy those online, Argos, or in the shops. You've got kettlebells that you can invest in, get a couple of kettlebells. There's the resistant bands, which you can use for your lower body and upper body, and they're very effective. You can buy a battle rope. I invested in one of those battle ropes over lockdown, and they're really good. I've got a little pole outside, which I just wrap it around and I do my battle rope, and it's really good for your cardio, strengthens your heart, you know, and it really tones up your arms. Yeah, they're very good. You've got ladders, you've got cones, you've got seated chair exercise, which is very effective for people that are less able. You can do side bends on the chair, you can do leg raises in the chair, you can you know, you can do a lot of toning exercises all in a chair. There's 101 different exercises that you can do on a chair. And all of these exercises, if anybody is interested, you know, you can access it online, or you can get a list from myself or from Marcia. And I just say, ladies, generally, there's nothing we can do to stop the menopause, but what we can do is we can make it easier for ourselves, and we don't have to let it define us. Yeah. If we do the little things, it's the little things that are going to make our journey in the menopause and out of the menopause a lot easier. And you've heard from Dr. before me, you've heard from me, exercise, diet, look after yourself, you know, and just be determined to get through it, and get through it, you know, with a smile on your face.
Okay, thank you, Bathsheba. Let's give her a round of applause. There's a couple of questions in the chat, and I'm just going to ask you two of them.
Yes.
One of the question was, what can you do to get rid of the tummy?
Number one, cut out your refined carbs, because refined carbs blow up your stomach. And drink a lot of water. In particularly, do drink hot water in the morning with lemon or lime. That does minimize, it actually burns a lot of the fat in the stomach. I've been doing that quite regularly, and I noticed the difference, and it flushes you out.
Okay, and then this second question, when you talked about people avoiding meat, does that include chicken or white meat, which is chicken or
I say more red meat, because red meat does actually, well, for me, not everyone's body's different. I found red meat used to give me excessive hot flushes. It used to increase my hot flushes. Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Thanks a lot, Bathsheba. There's going to be a Q&A at the end. So if I haven't asked your question now.
Just one other thing that I forgot to mention. I'm somebody, I like a lot of ginger, and I always put ginger in my smoothies. Now, ginger's very fiery, as you know, and apparently ginger's not good for, if you're getting hot flushes, don't minimize your ginger. Minimize your ginger.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bathsheba. So I would encourage you to be mindful of your diet. I've got a sweet tooth, so I've been praying and asking God to help me with my sweet tooth, because I love cakes, I love sugary things, but I'm trying. And I've started walking more. So I try and do 6,000 steps a day. And I have found it to be beneficial in helping me to lose some weight. So thanks again, Bathsheba. We're going to be coming back at the end, and I'm just going to go. I was going to have a 5-minute break, but I'm just going to go over to Sherry Ann Dixon, who's just going to be talking about, you know, stepping out during your mature age, at this mature age, because sometimes, you know, you've been raising the kids, you've been married, you've been focusing on your career, and then you reach this mature age, and you're thinking about, let me do things that now I really want to do. And sometimes what holds you back is fear. So Sherry Ann Dixon, who spoke at the first event that we had, let me just remind you of who she is. She's an award-winning journalist, lecturer, and public speaker, and she's passionate about empowering people to be confident, assertive, and to be the best that they can be. She's a sought-after transformational coach and public speaker. She was formerly a makeup artist. She's also been an editor of Pride. She also edited She Caribbean, and for a time was editor at large for Essence magazine. We all know that international magazine. She also presented a radio show on Choice. About 2 years ago, is it 2 years? Well, you will let us know. She moved to Guyana, leaving behind her children and her grandchildren, but she communicates with them on Zoom. And during COVID, she hosted weekly online meetings on a whole host of topics. So Sherry, I'm handing over to you.
Hey, hello everybody. Hello, what a lovely discussion. I can still see Marcia smiling at me. Anyway, you can hear me. I live in Guyana. I did make that move. I wanted to say that, but I came back for, because you need to see your children. Why am I seeing Bathsheba and not me?
I'm your child.
You know, Guyanese. But basically, I wanted to call this session "How to Handle the Change Crisis." Because we get to a certain age, we're working here. I was magazine editor. I've traveled the world. I've done so many things. If there was a place to be, I'd be there. If there was a dress to buy, I bought it. But there comes a time in this I call it mid-change crisis, where whether you're going through the menopause or you've gone through it, where you start questioning yourself. You start questioning what is life about? What is it all about? And I made the notes that happened to me at that time, which was sort of in my 50s. I'm in my 60s now. And yeah, somebody's doing dinner. How to handle the change crisis. So I've done it in points, and I've done 8 or 9 points that I think is really important. And some of it I've done. The first one is called focus on yourself. Focus on yourself. When the change is going through, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling miserable, when you're irritated by your children and your partner, I say that because that's what happened to me. It's time to focus on yourself. Start looking at yourself. In fact, what I would say to you as a transformational coach is start focusing on yourself before the change comes. But you know, quite easily we're running a home and we're keeping house good, and we don't focus on yourself. When you don't focus on yourself and then suddenly you're going through this menopause crisis or midlife crisis, whichever you want to call it, you'll find that suddenly everything gets on your nerves. You want to run away and leave those people. So start making a list of the things that you really would like to do if you were given the opportunity. 2, keep track of changes. Keep track of what you don't like and what you do like, because I use an example. The lady before me talked about keeping fit, keeping yourself fit and eating well. But for some of us, especially the lazy ones like me, when it comes to keeping fit, it's like, what do you mean walk? I don't want to walk. I don't want to run up the stairs. But what do I like? Ask yourself that question. What do I like? Because my bottom can't keep growing and my stomach growing, your arms flabbing, all those different things. So what I started to do was dance, because I love music and I love dancing. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm good for a party. So I play music and dance, and I do all the things that I'm supposed to do in that. So there is no reason to say can't. That word can't should really come out of your dictionary, all right? Find some ways to do it, whether you go to Zumba or you start doing stretching exercises or something, but do something. The third thing is learn something new. Learn something new, because when I was, I think I was 46, and I think when I was going through my menopause, and one of the things that really got me upset was the hair loss. I don't think we've covered that. Many people lose their hair at that point, and mine started to go in the middle. And I just didn't know what to do, because I spent time fighting, because I had locks at that time, and I found lots of different ways to make the shape and look good and stuff, but it wasn't working. And one day somebody said to me, cut it all off. I was like, what do you mean? The locks are all the way down to my bum. I don't cut them off. It took 12 years to grow that.
Can't hear you.
Cut the hair off. Did you get to that point? Cut the hair off, because why keep something that's irritating you? And I took it all off, shaved it down, and I have been living with this semi-bald head. I've been wearing weaves when I felt like I want hair, and then when I don't want hair, I take it off and I shave it off. And as you can see, it looks perfectly well, and it's grown back because I've taken off the wig, the weave, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes you've got to treat yourself better, and that was one of the things I learned too. Also, what I also learned was to wear layers, because I was living in England at that time. And you know, when you have on too much clothes and you go to work and you're sitting there and it seems like somebody's put on the heat, and you start flinging out the people's windows and tell them to turn off the heat, right? And everybody else is sitting there shivering. Well, I had to learn to not do that to them. I started wearing clothes that, so like I'd have a shirt or a t-shirt under there, under my jacket. I would take it off if I'm hot, put it back on when I got cold. So think about other people and not just about yourself. Don't wear lining, what do you call it, nylon-y type lining under your clothes, because that is one of the things that make you sweat. Try and stick to cotton as much as you like. But you know what? This is a good time to learn something new about yourself. As I said, what is it that I like? What type of clothes do I like? You're not obviously going to go out suddenly wearing batty riders just because you're hot, but find things that make you look sexy, because at this time, sometimes we lose that. You start acting a bit dowdy. That's the time to bring out your sexiness. That's the time to learn something new, makeup, understand what you like about makeup, colors that you like. The fifth thing I said is make time for your love life. Yes, all of you that are saying to the men, get off, you're making me hot, you're too near me in the bed. You really got to work hard at that, because it is said, and I wrote it down under this bit, and I know it happened to me, so I'm not even lying, I'm not even making it up. This is the time when relationships break up. In menopause, they say, unfortunately, marriage or relationship difficulties are often associated with midlife, which is what we go through. Divorce, affairs, people go off and do things that they don't normally do, or simply cooling down. The cooling down of a romantic and sexual feelings are commonly reported by menopausal therapists. But how do we get over that? The thing is to talk. The thing is to talk. You have to be able to tell your partner what you're going through, because many of us have been taught to keep it a secret. No, tell them I'm going through the menopause, because they go through menopause as well. So only they run off and have affairs, but you know, women don't necessarily always do that. Take time out to focus on your love life. That's one of the things that will definitely suffer, because we don't want to have sex. All right. Stay active. Like Bathsheba said, stay active. Just stay active, because when you stop and you give up, that's the time that you go into depression. There are numerous reports that I found online that talks about when we are going through menopause and perimenopause, that basically we go into depression, because a lot of us don't know how to reconnect, how to deal with these things. Your friends suddenly getting on your nerves. I spoke to a lady today who said, you know, I lost many of my friends when I was going through menopause, because everybody started to get on my nerves. Add healthy habits. So the healthy habits obviously is what you eat. And yeah, I hated broccoli. I was like, why do people keep talking about broccoli and cauliflower and these horrible kale things? But do you know what? As Bathsheba said, put them in the smoothie, and then suddenly I didn't even know that they were there. And lastly, spend time outdoors or make a change to your lifestyle. If you're married, I know that Marcia asked me to cover this about going and living abroad. Well, I didn't just get up and go and live abroad. I knew I was unhappy. So, you know, I said earlier on about focusing on yourself and keeping track of changes. I knew in my heart it had nothing to do with the menopause. I think the menopause enlightened me. It gave me a chance to accept the things that weren't right. And I decided I didn't want to just live to pay the mortgage. There's got to be more to life than that. And I went on a holiday. Obviously, as a journalist, I was traveling around the world, and the Caribbean was a place that always reached out to me. And I come from Guyana. Guyana is the place that I was born. And I decided, you know what? I actually want to go and learn a bit more about my country, but how can I do that with a mortgage to pay? I'm now single. So what did I do? I rented out the apartment. And I went to live for 12 months. Well, it was supposed to be 6, but I extended it, and I rented it out to students, and the mortgage was being paid. I made a change. I made a difference. I cut out a lot of the issues that was issues of my heart. So basically, I cut off my locks. I went to live in Barbados for 5 months. I booked an Airbnb, and I thought that's the best way to start. and gave up all them jobs, the high profile jobs, because those jobs as magazine editors were quite strenuous. You're looking after people and the magazine and the sales of the magazine, and people taking liberties with you. So I decided I wanted to do less. So went to live in the Caribbean, as I said, Barbados, then to Guyana. But when I got there, I actually realized that there's more to this moving away business. There's more than taking a break. You have to know where you're going, what the people are like. Can you make friends quickly? Because it can be quite lonely when you first go there. So choose maybe a thing to do, find a job, something that you can focus on and share your expertise. And that's what I did. I shared my expertise with a lot of women and made new friends. And right now I go backwards and forwards from Guyana to Barbados to London. And I'm living my best life yet. I am actually living it. I'm happier. I have a few health issues, but that wasn't my fault. I don't know where them kidney stones came from, but when I came here, they took them out. Now I'm going back and ready to go. It's about you making the decision to change, not to sit there and whinge and moan about it. Make the decision to change. Like Marcia says, she's walking now. She's walking. I mean, at least that's one thing, right? As I can see in the chat, Elaine says she started to write poetry. There's a book author in here, Pamela Haynes. I met her in middle of menopause, and she's now got 2 published books. There's always something you can do. You just got to want to try. And so, in conclusion, I believe that obviously you've had the medical side of it, and that's not my area of expertise. But what I'm saying is handle your change crisis, handle it. Say, what can I do? I'm feeling bad every day. I'm miserable. You want to go to work and beat the people at work. All these different things are happening. That's not the way forward. Say, am I happy with this job? Can I sustain keeping this job? And if it is that you have to keep it, then find something on the right and the left hand side to do. So dance your way, put in some great music. I've got the AirPods. My children have got me so many gadgets, I don't even know what I'm doing. But I play music all the time, and music has been my food of life. So that's my area that I can share with you. And I carried on gaining awards. I carried on, I think since then, haven't I, Marcia? Maybe about another 10 awards or something since I went to the Caribbean.
Always I get awards. Sorry, that's the Jamaican in me coming out.
I like it. But what I'm saying is that I do things online, as Marcia said, on a Sunday, that I invite other professionals to share. So you can do things where you're giving back. Just make a change for your crisis.
Thank you, Sherry. And thank you for being an example and inspiration of the kind of changes that you can make. Obviously, not everybody is going to want to fly out to Guyana and speak in Barbados and and Guyana. However, there's things that I'm sure that we all want to do, and now is the time to do them, particularly if your children are grown and you've entered this mature phase of your life, and just thinking, what else is there for me to do? There's always things for you to do. Like for me, I've started walking. I used to do it when I was younger. I started a YouTube channel. I started an event when I was in my 50s. And when you serve God, God will always find things for you to do. Now we've got our final speaker. If you was here at the first event, she said some very humorous things of things that she's forgotten to do because of the menopause. Her name is Pastor Yvonne Brooks. She serves as first assistant pastor of New Jerusalem Apostolic Church, a thriving church based in Birmingham. She is a qualified behavioral consultant, mental health nurse, and registered general nurse. And she has a passion for seeing people receive deliverance, healing, and restoration. Many of you might know her as Director of Women of Purpose Ministries that runs a number of initiatives, which includes the Women of Purpose Conference and the Esther's International Program. Her ministry is across the world. She's also the author of 4 books, which includes a book entitled The Menopause, where she chronicles her experience of this life transition. And I've asked Yvonne to speak because she loves where she is in her life. She loves aging, she loves life, she's embracing all the opportunities that have come with growing mature. And I really just hope that her words, I know that her words will just really inspire and encourage you to kind of step out and make the most of this time of your life. Pastor Yvonne Brooks, over to you.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you very much. And good evening, ladies. I think I've got the short stick, Marcia.
Right.
The joy of aging. Well, this is not going to be a very long presentation. But yes, Marcia is right. I have had a very exciting roller coaster ride with the menopause journey, the perimenopause, then menopause. And after I had my last period, and it was 12 months, I had a fantastic time for about 6 months. And then that's when I realized that the hot flushes were never going to really go away. They are different now, but you know what I did when I realized that I was going to have hot flushes? I started a fan club. So I've got so many fans. There's one in every bag. I never leave the house without a fan, and they're always charged, because when the heat surge comes, it's like I'm going to combust. It's totally amazing. And all the ladies that have spoken tonight, I've really enjoyed listening to each one of you, and you have all blessed me and helped me. So for me, part of the joy of aging, and I did say to Marcia, I wouldn't change my age for anything, is that postmenopausal, I found that I gained new confidence. I actually gained new confidence. I felt like, yeah, I've earned my stripes. I can say what I think. I can say what I feel. I mean, I don't just go around giving my opinion, but if you ask me something, then I am going to tell you the truth. And I feel so confident. And Sherry said about, you know, letting loose your sexiness. Well, I never ever thought I was sexy before until I got to this stage in my life. So now I realize I've started wearing my dresses a little bit shorter. Can't do it too short, Marcia, because I am a pastor, you know, but I started wearing them a little bit shorter. I've started to take more care and attention with myself. And I think that the key for us ladies, as we move into our 50s, 60s, and whatever comes next, is the maintenance has to go up. You can't carry yourself like you did when you were 21, 22, you know, just left the house and all that kind of stuff. You've really got to put the work in now. And so you need to develop some wonderful skincare routines. You don't have to spend a lot of money, because somebody bought me Liz Earle, the skincare range. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep this going? £85 for 4 things. So I went to Aldi. And you can get the identical products in Aldi for £38 for the 4 pieces. And I'm not kidding. It's totally amazing. And that's when I discovered that you really do need to have a good skincare routine. I never used serum. I hardly bothered with moisturizer because, you know, black doesn't crack. So I thought, don't need to do anything about it. But now here I am, I'm using the hot cloth wash. I'm exfoliating 3 times a week. I'm using the serum because the serum actually attracts moisture from the air and keeps your face moisturized throughout the day. And when you put your serum on, then you need to put your moisturizer on. And you need to do that morning and evening, because when I'm 100, I still want to look good. So you have to put the work in now. You can't wait till you're 100, you know. And I'm not going to have plastic surgery. I've watched too many episodes of Botched, to put myself at risk, because most of the people on there, they say, I just want to have what I had before. And I think to myself, well, you had what you had before, and you spent a whole pile of money ruining it. And now you want what you had before. So listen, I'm going to be satisfied with my face as it is and just have a really, really good skincare. Also, ladies, we have to understand that we don't live for 50 years without getting some experience. And I think that this is the best or greatest time for us to begin to share our experience with the young people around us, or the younger people. You know, any room I'm in now, I end up being one of the oldest people in the room. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
I think you've frozen, Yvonne. Hopefully you'll come back. Maybe if you go out and come back in. Oh dear, she's stuck in time. Let me just, as I'm waiting for Yvonne to go out and come back in, is Dr. Tonye, are you still on the line? Still in meeting? Can't see you.
Are we running in time, on time, Marcia?
Yeah, we are, but Yvonne's got stuck.
Yeah, I know. She's probably come off.
So she'll ask her to come on. Dr. Tonye, let me see if she's still on the line, because there's a question. There was a question in the group. It's okay. It's okay. Right, okay. Right. Bathsheba, do you want to give any more tips while we wait for Pastor Yvonne to come back into the room?
Yes, I just wanted to share, because I didn't share. I'm a Zumba instructor, and my classes are literally a big party. And, you know, I teach, the majority of the people that I teach are half my age or 3/4 my age. So I would encourage people to find a local Zumba class, or you're welcome to come to my Zumba class. It's in East London. If you're interested, just send me a message, because we have fun. And I know one of my participants is online. Patricia, whoop, whoop. Where are you?
Hello.
You're right.
She's brilliant.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
How's the healing coming along?
It's coming on. I'm swimming every day.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. So you're ready for Zumba soon?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good.
You're brilliant.
Good.
She's brilliant at Zumba, ladies. Absolutely. She'll make you sweat.
How much weight have you lost since coming Zumba?
Oh, wow. I think I must have lost, gosh, nearly a stone.
I know. I know. Yeah. It's so easily done when you're having fun, eh?
Yeah.
Pastor Yvonne is back on the line. Sorry to cut in there. Pastor Yvonne is back. Pastor Yvonne?
We're having really bad rain in Birmingham, and it affected the internet. So everybody lost their connection in the house. But I'm back. And I can remember that I was telling you about sharing your experiences with young people, younger people. So that's people of any age. Because myself, I didn't expect that the menopause was going to affect me any at all. So now I spend my time. Saturday, I was on a workshop talking about the menopause. Today, I'm here talking about the menopause. And everywhere I go, I will speak about the menopause, because I discovered that the thing that made the difference, apart from changing my diet, taking black cohosh, evening primrose, the thing that made the key difference was being able to talk about it and to recognize that I wasn't an odd person, I wasn't strange, I wasn't the only one going through this, but everybody's going through similar circumstances. And when I understood that, it made my life much easier. And so that's my quest at the moment, to share. So as well as becoming more confident, I go to the threading place, because I don't know for anybody else, people are talking about hair loss. I've actually gained hair all over my chin. I also have a mustache most of the time. So I go to get it threaded. And when I'm in there, I usually see other women around my age, and immediately I engage with them and begin to share my experience, ask them questions, and I gain some of their experience, and we share information. So one of the best things that you can do is to talk about your experience, not just with ladies, but also with men. Because I realize, I think Sherry spoke about the love life, and the doctor also spoke about your sex life. And what people don't understand is they think that sex can only happen, Marcia, at night in the dark, you know, with the lights off. And when you get older, you have to become innovative and creative. So there's a room for afternoon delight. You know, take time out to concentrate on your love life, especially if you've had a long marriage. Then don't let it become a casualty of the menopause process, but take time. Sherry told us that we should talk, and I think that is key, because men don't quite understand what's happening with us. They actually can think that we've lost our minds. But when we share, we share with our children as well, because that's helping them to prepare. If they get married, have a partner, then they will understand, oh, I remember my mom going through that. Maybe that's what's happening here. So I think just staying informed, staying on the cutting edge, don't consign ourselves to the rubbish heap, because this experience that we have makes us so valuable to have around. So don't confine yourself to the rubbish heap, but continue to invest in yourself. Don't allow other people to do all of the courses and you're thinking, I can't do anything. And I know it's difficult because I have suffered with the brain fog. I've gone up the stairs many times and couldn't remember why I was there. And I've got 3 flights of stairs in my house. So I should be as skinny as a rake. I'm not quite that, but I'll go up and I have to go all the way down again before I remember what I went upstairs for. Also, as we've already hinted at, it's time to develop new hobbies and just to reinvent yourself. Change your clothes. You know, if you used to wear long dresses, start wearing shorter dresses. If you used to have long hair, get short hair. If you didn't wear makeup, it's time to start wearing makeup. Come on, my whole plan is that I'm going to grow old disgracefully. I'm not going to conform to anybody's image of what they think I should be. I have pleased everybody all my life, looked after my husband, looked after my children. Now they want me to look after the grandchildren. And I'm letting them know, look, I've got to live my life, because when am I going to fit it in if I don't do it now? How do I know how many more years I have left? And so I'm reinventing myself. I'm wearing bright colors because I want people to notice me. When I come into a room, they must know that I'm there. And they're going to see me in my bright orange or my bright yellow or my bright pink. I'm not going to be a wallflower and just fade into the background anymore, because this is my time. Ladies, this is your time. Do not make yourself small, but make yourself big. Live a mountaintop life. Live a life on purpose, because I'm telling you, you have paid your dues and now it's time for you to live large. So Marcy, I'll stop there.
Woo! That was a message and a half. Live large. Wear clothes that people notice, don't blend into the background. And I think Pastor Yvonne is so right. You know, we've earned our stripes. You know, why should we fade into the background? You know, we're just getting started. You know, for me, I was young, now I'm older, and I'm just thinking, wow, I thought I was okay when I was younger, but hey, I'm in my 50s and I'm great. When I say I'm great, I don't mean, I just mean that I'm much better than what I was before. Yeah. Life is for living. If you've raised your children, props to you. This time is for you to be all that God has called you to be. Thank you, Pastor, for that. Love it. Yeah, because when I've been to events where Pastor Yvonne is, you can't miss her. You can't miss her at all, because her clothes are bright. She's making sure everyone, hi, I'm here. And that's the thing, you know, you feel that as you get older, you should make room for the young people. Yes, we should support young people, encourage them, empower them, and mentor them, but it doesn't mean that you should sink into the background. In fact, it means you should come further up into the foreground, because you have a lot to share. You've been there, done it, worn the t-shirt, and you want to wear another t-shirt.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Yvonne. So if you've got any questions, please put them into the chat. I did want Marlene Greaves. She's she does many things, but she's also a fashion designer. And she was just sharing a little bit earlier today that one of the things that you can do to help yourself during the menopause is to really think about the fabrics that you wear. So Marlene, just for 2 minutes, if you just kind of want to share a little bit. And she makes wedding dresses, so if there's anybody here who wants to get thinking of getting married in this mature age.
Oh, bless you. Thank you, Marcia. That's for that extra plug. So yeah, really rapidly. So Bathsheba, bless you. I haven't seen you for decades or for a long time.
Haven't you, darling? Yes, a long time.
Love this lady. Love this lady. Gospel aerobics. I bought one of your videos way back then.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Bathsheba's already touched on I think it was you, bed sheet, using cotton sheets.
Yes.
And spend the extra money and get the Egyptian cotton, because it'll be worth it. The other thing is, I think Sherry's also touched on the fabrics and wearing layers and things like that, which is some of the things that, we know that, but genuinely, but I think the key thing is to get used to lifting up the clothes in the when you go shopping, lift the end up, find the label, the care label, and the content. I spent ages, and it annoys me when I haven't got my glasses because it's so small, but go for your natural fabrics, your natural fibers, which are your cottons, your linens, your silks. And bamboo is now, more recently, that's come into being, and there's other things that are being made with natural, like wood pulp and stuff. And so find out, do your research, find out what they are. And it is going to cost a bit. It's more likely going to cost a lot more, but I love my linens. That's like my favorite thing. And if we do that, it's just educating ourselves, really. Forget about things that cling, get things that are looser and flowing. You know, you get a good cotton jersey, something that you want to fit to show off, you know, your wonderful figure. Then some layers and some flouncy bits that are really light. So yeah, I think part of the irritation, I recently made a special occasion outfit for somebody, and when we were shopping for the fabric, she said, "Oh, should I put cotton lining?" And it didn't. I said, "No, because that doesn't go with the outer fabric, the lace that she had." So we were there and doing the fittings, and every fitting, because I make a 12 first, I never got cut straight onto the thing. She was just wet. It was just wet and sticking to her, and she was embarrassed and uncomfortable. And in the end, when I went for almost the final fit, she said she doesn't know how she's going to wear it on the night because she was dripping. And I ended up having to travel again and go and get some cotton lining just so she could be comfortable for the evening. And I thought, if only she had the courage to say to me on the day we were shopping for fabrics, "I'm menopausal." She felt that then, but you know, so many people, it's taboo and they just think it's not normal, or maybe so when I started to question her, she kind of said, maybe that's what it is. But just talk, share, talk, so that we can help each other. But definitely go for the layers, go for your natural fibers every time, and that's to help. It won't eradicate it, but it will definitely help with the journey.
Okay, thank you. Pastor Yvonne, I just really want to just ask you a question, which I'm sure is on some of the ladies here's mind. You know, the thing about particularly living in Western society, there is a thing about aging, and people look at it quite negatively. Because, you know, you think about you losing your youth. Sometimes you have dreams that you weren't able to fulfill when you were younger. You know, as you get older, there's the woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of memories that come to your mind. How can you kind of embrace your present and look to the future when you a bit sad about certain things that may not have happened in your past? Like, for instance, our churches are I'm one of them, filled with lots of women who are single. And as the menopause comes, even though it's been a great time for me, it's also been a time of mourning, because, you know, the children that you long for, you can't have because your periods ain't happening anymore and stuff like that. So what kind of advice would you give to people who want to embrace their maturity, but have regrets. And it's not just about people like me. There's other things. Your marriage might have broken down, might not have had the career you wanted, etc.
Wow, so that's a big question. But I try not to live with any kind of regrets. And so I embrace my situation and try to focus on where I am now. So for ladies, and I know that a lot of ladies would like to have gotten married, had children, and I'm saying even now it's not too late, maybe not to have a child yourself, but what about adopting a child? Most women who are single have really set themselves up well. They've got their own homes, they've managed their finances well. And so they're in a position where they could actually adopt a child and still be able to contribute to the next generation. If you don't want to adopt a child that lives with you, I've got 3 sponsored children in Guyana, because compassion works with children in extreme poverty. So I've got 3 extra children whose lives I'm able to feed into and shape. And to me, they're as much my children as the ones that I gave birth to. And so I think there's lots of different things that we can do, but rather than living with the regrets, let us reinvent ourselves. Look at what is possible now and embrace each opportunity that comes, rather than letting these opportunities go and then looking back and having more regret about what we've let go recently, as well as what we let go in the distant past. So I think that's how we have to really deal with things. Even with aging, I don't think we're supposed to move aside. I've embraced my gray hair. I wear it as a crown of honor. I feel honored to be able to have lived long enough to be gray. So I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not going to die. I am embracing it, and I'm going to flaunt it like it's blonde, you know? So let us embrace the opportunities that come our way and look at how we can do things differently. It might not be as fulfilling as holding your own baby, but I promise you, you can love that child just as though you'd given birth to it yourself if you adopt. And nowadays, as you know, I think there's a group called You Can Adopt. They're not looking at your age so much. They're not looking at whether you're married or not, but they will help you and answer all your questions and make it a very comfortable journey into motherhood if you would like to have a child. And for those of you who want to get married, you know, you don't necessarily need a man. Just get the dress, buy the cake, invite some friends, and marry yourself.
No.
No way. That's mental health.
There's stories of people that have been marrying their cats, their dogs.
Oh, no.
Ridiculous.
No,
but yeah, we might buy the dress and just see what we look like for a day in a nice dress. Somebody has asked a question, I don't know who wants to answer this, about the whole thing about hair, which Sherry alluded to, you know, because the front of your hair can go, you can lose your hair. Has anyone got any remedies and things that women can do if they feel that their hair is breaking or their hairline is receding?
Well, my hairdresser, she had a hair transplant. So that's something that people can think about. She had a hair transplant a couple of years ago and it's working really, really well. And she's happy to recommend her surgeon to anybody who's interested.
Oh, wow.
And it's SG Hair. I can send you the details, Marcia. You can send them out.
Oh, wow.
She's actually meant to be doing some podcasts and stuff to share with people, but she is very keen on helping ladies who want to recover their hair. Because she went bald and it was something in her family, but now she's got hair.
Oh, wow. Did she do that? Did she do that over here or did she go to Turkey? Because I know that Turkey's a very popular.
Oh, no, I don't think she went to Turkey. I think she did it here, but she is happy to speak to anybody. So wow. I will pass on her details and you can pass it to any of the ladies who are interested.
Okay. Well, I just want to announce that I'm looking to do a webinar about the whole thing to do about hair, looking after your hair when you become menopausal. So please do look out for that. Has anyone got any other questions for the panelists? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Marcia, also, one of the things that I learned was about rose water. I learned it from this Asian lady, and I bought it in the, Indian shop, and I basically spray. I bought a big bottle of it and spray my hair with it, and I moisturize and rub it into my scalp every day. And when I had locks, that helped to grow my locks. But particularly in this area that's sensitive, that always breaks, I spray and I massage and moisturize that area with rose water.
Did you find that it worked?
Yes, because the middle of my hair is nice and thick. Now it's unbelievably thick. It's even thicker than the sides. So that's the area that I'm rubbing right now. My granddaughter told me about it as well. So it must be something that that works. But definitely, even if you have your weave or your big, still with the weave, I used to open the little squares and just squirt it in there and then massage.
Okay, never heard of that one before.
Right, try that for my sides. Sounds good.
Yeah, rather than always just putting in the gel, because gel can also dry the hair as much as it makes it go down, it dries it. But spray it with rose water. I just bought, it's not cheap, but you know what? You can spray it on your face, you can put it on your hair. It's good.
Okay. Any other questions? I want to throw.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It wasn't a question, it was a point. I was with a group of ladies yesterday for lunch, and the subjects of menopause came up automatically. And one of the ladies, I thought it was headphones at first, but it's a neck fan that she gets on Amazon, and she's just been donating and giving those out. Said, have a menopause party.
We've got a lady here with it.
Leonie, where are you, Leonie? Show us your your headphone fan.
The neck fan, yeah.
Yeah.
Coming. Sorry, let me just turn my light back on. It's here.
Look how cool it looks.
The bladeless neck fan. If you just search for neck fan on Amazon, you'll find a lot of suppliers with it, and it has three settings. It's quite powerful. It really, really works, and it's rechargeable. It lasts for quite a while.
Yeah.
Gosh, I need one of those from when I'm preaching.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to share. Yeah.
Pastor Yvonne, one of the things you said, I'm going to ask the questions now. One of the things you said that as mature women we can do, we have a lot of wisdom to pass on to younger women. That's whether we're single or married, and we've got wisdom about a whole host of things. How do you suggest older women go about facilitating relationships with younger women? Should we wait for the younger women to approach us? Should you just put on events on issues that we think that they're concerned about, and maybe have a young speaker and an older speaker? What kind of suggestions do you have?
Oh, well, my preference would be to go for small groups of young women, invite them out to breakfast. The food always gets them. And then while they're at breakfast and their mouths are full, you're able to talk to them. Okay. I actually did that on Saturday. I invited a young lady to come out because I know that she wants to get married and it looks like nothing's happening. So I thought it would be good for me to be able to speak to her and help her to position herself, make proper preparation, and also to pray with her about the issue, and also maybe introduce her to every young man I meet. The first question I ask is, are you married? And then the second question is, would you like to be? And then they look at me in horror because they think I want to get married to them, But I say, no, not for me. Are you interested? Can I introduce you to somebody? I think the older women should facilitate introductions, of young men to young ladies, and help to bolster their confidence so that they can help to build a friendship at least, and possibly a relationship that will lead to marriage. That's what I would do. I think we do need events, but a lot of young people, they won't come to those kind of events. So there's enough of us oldies around. Let's start to facilitate small groups with young ladies and just speak to them. And once they know that you really, really care about them, they will listen to you. Because listen, you can't influence somebody unless you build a relationship with them. And often events don't facilitate relationships, because you're up there organizing, hosting. They're down there if they come at all. So I think we need to begin to build relationships, because then we're able to influence people, because they will listen to us because they believe that we care about them. So that's what I would do.
I agree. And also, one of the things that you could do, which I did a lot in Guyana, was not necessarily always have it might not necessarily be about relationship talk, but we invited them to do cake, sip and talk, that kind of things, you know, where they're doing something else. And so it brings boys and girls, or women and men, depends on what you want to talk about. And I used to have quite a lot of them come and chat, sip and chat, you know, and sometimes they come up with the ideas about what we can do. You know, it's no longer is it that we can go to, what is it they used to have, the prom night, you bring your guy and, you know, or you meet somebody at the prom night. It's not like that anymore. It's a bit distant, because social media has allowed them to talk to the phone or the iPad or whatever it is. So we have to find different ways of bringing people together. You know, even my age, who tell you I don't want to meet a man? I'll do sip and talk.
Yeah, but your friends, they should invite you round and invite a single man and facilitate an introduction, you know, in a comfortable atmosphere where you feel safe, because you're not alone with that guy. That's right. You know, that's what we need to do. But I think we're too selfish and we don't think of other people enough.
Sure.
Has anyone got any other questions? Because I until you put one in the chat, I'm going to ask another question. One of the things that can happen to women as they get older, and maybe their looks change and their figure changes, is that they lose confidence. Anyone can answer this. What kind of tips would you give women to maintain their confidence, even though they are changing, their bodies are changing, their looks are changing?
First of all, can I answer this question?
Yeah.
Because that's my area of expertise. It's looking at yourself and liking yourself. I know that sometimes we don't, because, okay, like one of my clients, I mentor people, and one of them is talking about her legs, her thick legs, as she calls it. And I said to her, do you like your arms? Do you like your face? Or, you know, what do you like about yourself? And for them to find out what they like about themselves, so that you could maybe focus on that area, stop focusing on the area that you don't like. I mean, it's like a cheek, isn't it? Telling your legs, telling your whole body, I don't like you, have no confidence, I don't like you, because what, your bum goes behind by about, you know, follows 4 hours later. That's the area that you work on, your bum. But the rest of it is that you look fine. Tell yourself you look fine. Like as we said before, me and the pastor, buy yourself some nice dresses. Maybe have an off-the-shoulder dress. Wear lip gloss instead of lipstick. These things give you confidence. When you walk into a room, if you're embarrassed, because it's not easy, Pastor and I do the same thing. We walk in the room, I take it over because I'm a joker. I'm a joker. And so I use the area that I'm good at to take away my fear, because fear stops you from doing lots of things.
It's about body confidence. If you like what you see and you're confident in your body, it makes you confident. If you like what you see, if you feel good in your clothes, look good in your clothes, you know, it's going to boost your confidence.
Yes. And learn how to sorry, Marcia.
No, it's okay.
Learn how to present yourself effectively. If you know speaking is not your area of expertise, then sometimes you have to work at it. You have to maybe put on, I teach this, where you get your phone and you record yourself answering a question or speaking about a subject. Quite often that I'm at a wedding or something and the video man's coming around and you can see them all going, no, not me. And he's got that in the video. You know, you've gone to a wedding, the man asks you, what do you think about the wedding? oh, what a lovely wedding and what a beautiful day. Those two things are easy to say. Why are you going, not me, not me, not me? It doesn't make sense. Work at the area that you need to. If it's that voice projection, understand that when you speak and the tone of your voice goes down here, hi, my name is Sherry, and it's down here, people ask you again, sorry, what did you say? And then you have to repeat it again. Speak with your voice projected towards the person. Yeah, put on your mask if it's COVID or whatever. They have to wear the mask. But what I'm saying is speak and project yourself. That's not hard work.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. There was a question earlier. I did think it was best if a doctor dealt with it, but someone's asked me the question. The lady, Yvonne, you might be able to help because I know that you are a mental health nurse. She said, the lady said, I suffer with mild bipolar and have also gone through the menopause, but sometimes she's not sure if she's suffering from bipolar or is it the menopause symptoms? Is there any way to tell what it is?
Well, I think if she has suffered with mild bipolar, has she seen a doctor or her community nurse? Is she on medication for that or not? I think that she probably needs to be talking to her mental health nurse who will just maybe do some talk therapy with her, and that will help her to identify the symptoms. It's very hard sometimes because sometimes the menopause symptoms actually mask other symptoms or parade as other symptoms. So if she doesn't want to talk to a nurse or a professional, then she's going to need to talk to somebody that she has confidence in, somebody that knows her, and they'll be able to tell her if she is being strange or acting strange. And really, she should have a list of things to watch out for, which will indicate to her that she's having a relapse or something like that. And then she can only do that with a professional nurse or doctor.
Okay. I hope that's answered your question. If you've got another question that you'd like to add to that answer, please put it in the chat, unless you want to unmute yourself and ask that question. Is there any other questions that anyone's got? Okay, I'm going to ask another one, all related to the menopause. I was talking to a gentleman today, and he was just sharing about a good friend of his. His friend wasn't married, but his friend was involved in a long relationship. And when the lady entered, his partner entered the menopause, she just became very angry, very moody, very contagious and all that kind of stuff, that the relationship actually broke down. So my question to anyone on the panel who wants to ask, how can we as women manage, if we can, manage emotions during the menopause? Because obviously some relationships are breaking down because of the menopause and the emotions that it stirs up in women who are going through it.
I don't know if Sherry wanted to answer that, because she did say something about relationships being threatened. But I think often we're not aware of how we're behaving. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and he said he came home and said hello to his wife, and she said, I've had enough, I'm leaving. And she left. She left for 3 days, and then she came back. And he said that's when he realized that she was going into the menopause, because that behavior was so uncharacteristic and stuff. And we don't always have insight into the change in our behavior, because I know that like that, I can switch and be very angry because somebody's done something that I don't think they should have done. And I have to rein myself in, because I have the insight. I understand that my moods can be affected. I don't really suffer with bad moods, and it's very hard for somebody to get me upset. But when it happens, I know it's happening. And I think that as women, we need to be aware we need to have insight into our behaviors and the impact that our behaviors are having on relationships, but it doesn't always happen in the menopause.
And it's not necessarily relationships with our partners, you know, it's not all just about sex. We've got children and grandchildren. And then sometimes you can find that because they're from different generations, they do things the way that they do it, and you know it a certain way, and then next minute you're screaming at them, you know, take the thing off the table and put it in the sink, you know, and we wouldn't be talking to them nicely the way that this new generation speak to their children. When we're upset, we tend to bark of an older generation. There's so many things with regard to relationship, even letting people at work know that you are maybe, you know, the person in charge, know that you're going through this moment. And if you flare up occasionally, not that they're going to shout out, oh, don't worry about the menopause, she's on menopause. They might be aware so they can calm something down. You have to talk. You have to talk.
Okay, thank you. There's a message in the chat. Is there a maximum term that we can expect the menopause period to last?
I think, Marcia, it can be anything from 5 years to 13 years. That's what I've seen in research and stuff.
Okay, yeah, okay. Somebody has commented in the chat, an image consultant, agreeing with what Sherry says about self-confidence. I mean, Sherry, is it worthwhile, and Yvonne did allude to clothes, wearing colours that suit you. Is it worthwhile at this stage in our life investing in a image consultant, for instance, or booking a stylist? And
I totally agree with that. I mean, Joy of Potential You, she is somebody that I spoke to a little while ago when I used to teach beauty. And it's amazing how colors can reflect a positive or negative attitude for you. I tend to wear bright colors. I'm not wearing it today, on my skin out today, because I was talking to people in the Caribbean. But really, I always wear oranges and reds and the brighter hues. It makes me feel good. I have orange jumper, red jumper. So it's not just about summer. I think we've got into our host country's attitude of, oh, we wear dark in the winter and bright in the summer. No, wear bright when you want to wear bright. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't like bright lipstick, now this is the problem, and obviously this is my area, people tend to say, I don't like lipstick, I don't like too bright. Well, lip gloss is is a softer version of a lipstick, so wear lip gloss instead, but still in a brighter color. You know, Marcia's got one, I'm sure she's got someone today, lip gloss, but basically you can wear lip gloss that's a hint of a color. And if you want to make it brighter, then add the lipstick to it. If you don't want to make it brighter, just do lip gloss on its own. Just try to add warmth to your body and to your features. A little blusher on the face. You don't have to wear the whole thing, but you can use a little bit blusher on your cheeks, and that makes you look warm, especially in the winter time here. I mean, in the Caribbean where I live now, there's people wear full makeup and they don't walk around sweating and wiping it off. You learn how to put makeup in the areas that you want to put them on, maybe just the eyes and the lips, but just go for color. Stop trying to be, listen, you guys got to remember the same things that you talk about, black don't crack. Try doing it with the colors as well. Colors bring out, get yourself a pink coat if it makes you feel good going to work in the morning. It's not about them, it's about you. Remember, it's all about you now and how you feel.
Yes, you're right, Sherry. I've got 3 bright yellow coats that I wear in the winter. I bring my own sunshine.
No one can miss you, Pastor Yvonne. I wanted to ask a question about spirituality, only because obviously as we become older, you become more aware of your mortality. And one of the things that, well, I do, one of the things that you want to do is kind of, if you're a Christian anyway, just make sure that you're right with God and all that kind of stuff. What kind of tips can you give people in terms of nurturing their spirituality in their mature age?
Okay, I guess I should answer because I'm the pastor, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that authenticity, being genuine, is the most important thing. So we're authentic with ourselves and with God. We don't try to be one thing in one space and then something else in another space, but we are contiguous, you know, we're congruous, we're the same wherever we go. And if we're professing to be Christian, then I think we have to take that all the way through in our actions, our words, our deeds, everything. We can't pretend to be a Christian, if you know what I mean. So I think it's very important, and I'm very aware of my own mortality. Every day I think, this could be my last day. And so I live it to the full, but I also live it with God before me all the time.
My jacket.
Realizing that I don't want to be lost. I actually believe that there is a heaven for me to gain. And I believe that I can also impact the people around me positively when I'm authentic, when they see my consistency and my commitment. So I think everybody should read their Bible, pray, and seek spiritual awareness and go to a church and be a member, a useful member, not just part of the furniture, but actually be a part of that church family.
Okay. Does anyone want to unmute and say anything or ask any questions? Because we're going to wrap up soon.
Yeah, I just want to add something again, Marcia. Sorry, I'm on. That what Sherry was saying about the thick legs and everything and speaking. So scriptures tell us that death and life is in the power of the tongue. And when we speak words, I mean, the world was formed by word, God said, and it was. So it is important, as spiritual people, whoever, that we understand that when we say negative things about ourselves, our body, whatever, our cells are hearing. It's connected, our cells are hearing that, you know. And so I'm forever helping people to stop saying my asthma, my blood pressure, my whatever, and I set it aside. The facts are there, but it's the. So instead of owning it and claiming it and building on it, so I think definitely speak positively to your body. It might sound a bit wacky, but our cells listen and they will obey and do, and their cells have memories as well. Yeah, so yeah, speak life, stop speaking death.
Okay. Anyone else want to say anything? Okay, this is my last question, and I'm hoping that people will relate to it. In recent years, this is more for Yvonne, a lot of people have been thinking about therapy, going to counselors, having therapy to deal with deep-rooted issues. Just really wanted to get your view on that, because a lot of people are saying they find it very, very helpful, particularly in dealing with unresolved issues or deep hurts or behavioral patterns that, you know, they're thinking, I need to break this now.
Well, I think going for counseling is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do, because sometimes things have happened in our lives and we've suppressed it, and it's actually causing us problems, and we don't actually realize that's what's causing the problem. But if we have a skillful, qualified counselor, they're able to take away the layers and allow us to deal with the issues, which is not taking away from us, but is adding to us and helping us to live a more wholesome and complete life. So for me, everybody should be having counseling. Everybody should have it, because there's things in our lives that we're not even aware of. That's what's causing that blockage. You know, every time you think you're going to move forward, but instead you take a backward step. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why you get upset when certain things happen. But because most of us are Christians and we think because we're Christians, that gets rid of all the problems. It doesn't necessarily do that, because as you know, I'm a pastor and I come across so many people with issues and problems. So if being baptized, being filled with the Holy Spirit was a cure for our counseling issues, then nobody should have a problem. But we need to face our situations and deal with them. And we need somebody who's skillful to help us to unpack that stuff so that we don't fall apart or cave in under the reality of the discoveries that we may make. Okay. So yes, I recommend counseling. A good therapist, a good Christian counselor.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to wrap up now. I just want to say thank you to our speakers, Dr. Tonye Wikoma, who is part of an organization called Black Women in Menopause, and you can find them on Twitter and on Facebook. They've got a private group, and you can visit them at www.blackhealthandbeyond.co.uk. I will send out these details. Thank you to Bathsheba Smith, who is a qualified fitness instructor. Do invite her, if you're based in London, to come and do classes for you, talk about fitness. You know, as Pastor Yvonne said, as you get older, you have to up your fitness level. So it kind of makes sense, as if you run a women's ministry, help your women to get more fit. Think about doing walking. I'm part of a group called We Walk Wednesdays. I've found it has really helped me to up my fitness level. So you can do that at your church, and walking and talking is great for building relationships. Sorry about that little plug for my event. Thank you to Sherry Ann Dixon, an award-winning journalist, lecturer and speaker, who's shared some really tips about going through the menopause, building relationships and enhancing your beauty. And thank you to Pastor Yvonne Brooks, who just kind of gave, again, some practical tips on the things that we can do to enjoy this time of your life. Yes, we are mature. Let's be proud of being mature. Let's not think that God is not going to open up new doors for us. He will. Let's start making us putting ourselves first, not in a narcissistic kind of way, but in that healthy way where, you know, scripture says that we must love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So we don't love others to the exclusion of ourselves. We love others and we love ourselves, and we treat ourselves in the same way that we would treat others that we love. And Pastor Yvonne, I was going to call you Angela, I don't know why. Pastor Yvonne, Pastor Yvonne runs a women's ministry called Women of Purpose. She runs courses called Esther's Academy that helps the women develop in all areas of their life. She's also written a book about the menopause. You can connect with Pastor Yvonne at her website, which is www.YvonneElizabethBrooks.com. Sherry Ann Dixon has a website, www.sherryandixon.com. And you can connect with everybody on their social media. I would encourage you to book them to speak at your events, and continue this conversation at your own church and with the women. You may not go to church, but there's women that you know that are going through this experience. Let's create a sisterhood. Let's talk with each other, encourage each other, inspire each other to be the best that we can be, and live that abundant life that Christ spoke to us about. Thank you to everyone who's been to my online meetings. I really hope that you've enjoyed them. I certainly enjoyed everything that was shared today. And yeah, I want to live my best life. And when I walk in a room, I want people to see that I am there because of the colors that I have on. But I'm not going to get a yellow coat. Too bright for me. Oh dear. Pastor Yvonne. And Pastor Yvonne also holds an annual event called Esther's Banquet in Birmingham, and I believe she holds it in London as well. So find out about what these women are doing, support them if you feel that what they're doing connects with where you are and where you want to go. We've got some great women in this country, very talented in what they do, and their whole desire is to empower, inform, and to support other women. as they journey to be all that God has put in them and has called them to be. So thank you to everyone who's come tonight. Really.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Thank you.
bless
Thank
you
you.
all.
Blessings.
Bless you.
God bless you.